What's up, guys? Claudio Valdivia here with the THiNK Real Estate team. I want to welcome everybody to episode 17 of the THiNK 30 series. Today, we're going to be talking about hiring. When's the right time to hire? What are some of the things that you're going to be looking for in your new hires? And what I've done is I've actually recruited a good buddy of mine, Rhyan Finch. Rhyan Finch is the president and CEO of First Class Real Estate. It's where I hang my license and where I conduct real estate business. Before I turn it over to Rhyan to kind of get this thing kicked off, I just want to kind of read a quick snippet resume of Rhyan. So, like I said, he's the president and CEO of First Class Real Estate. Before he launched the brokerage, he was a real estate agent and successful real estate agent in his own. He's built a team of real estate agents. Currently, we sit about 300 plus agents at the brokerage. He also launched a mortgage company. He launched a franchise of the real estate business model that within its first year blew up to 10 franchisees. So when it comes to building a massive team and putting things in place to allow for individuals to come into the business to help him grow his idea, his mindset, this guy has got it. He's dialed in. So without further ado, Rhyan.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for the kind words. Obviously I've had a lot of people, mentors help me, and sometimes it's lack of information, and sometimes it's, the ability to really apply it, and so you putting this content out here is going to be great for the people. And if they can take it and, come up with their own vision and creation of what they're going to design and then run with it, so that should be good.
Yep. So Rhyan, on this video series, I've talked a lot about scaling a business, and you can't scale a business without adding people into the mix, right? So you've been able to do that very successfully. And, I guess the first question that people need to be asking themselves is, when is the right time to hire? How do you identify that you need to start bringing people into the fold?
Sure. So, and it's a good question, and ultimately, I think everybody knows that they need to leverage themselves at some point, right? I mean, so, if you can do a certain amount of tasks and jobs during the day, once you've added somebody else on, you're going to be able to multiply your efforts, so, but it comes with some snares and some tangles that you have to watch out for. And I've been caught up in almost every single one of them. So, hopefully we can shortcut somebody from going through those. And I was even told to watch out for this and didn't understand it. So that's the important part of that I'm going to try and dig into when I answer this question. But the other one of the snares is that you'll end up hiring somebody and then you sit back and put your feet up and expect that they're going to do all the work, right? And so that kind of thing means it could be the right time to hire, and now you've hired somebody and now it's not working, right? So then you're firing them. They're not doing a good job, so they're not being productive. They're not doing what you want. It's not the picture that you thought you had. I hired Sue, and Sue's going to do all this stuff, and I'm going to go play golf all day. So that's the kind of the vision that people start to think of, but really it doesn't really go that way. And that's obviously corporate America. You could be a plumbing company. You hired John is going to go over there and do these plumbing things. Well, he goes over and he messes it up, doesn't do it right. Something goes on, and now it pulls you back in, right? So knowing the snares of what's going to go on is determining all the way backwards to when is the time to hire. So you would think that when is the time to hire is based on production, or business or something along those lines. But the time to hire is when you're prepared in a system and a process to manage them effectively. So if you're going from 0 to 1, you need kind of a system and a process, right? And so most people go, I need to hire someone, and I'm so busy, I don't have time to put the processes in place. And so they stay on this hamster wheel when it was time to hire. And they may say, well, now I'm going to hire them and I'm going to have that person come in and do that. Well, they set the wrong expectations. This person's coming into a job. They think that they're coming into a position that's set up and has a role. And instead, this is a new company or something starting up. And now they come in, the person's like, I'm creating my own job description. Yeah, I don't have time to do it. Just figure it out, and so stuff like that goes on. So now it lacks a vision. The people lack a focus, and then they flare out. And then the person who goes out and works all day and expect the administrative person to help them when they don't do it, they come back and blow up on them. I can't believe you did this. What are you doing sitting around eating bonbons all day? You know, something like that. You get out of here. I'd have been better off doing it on my own, because on top of it, you're costing me money. And that is what leads you to the other snare and the other indicator of where this would go, and which is lead with profit. I have failed at this so many times, taking the money from the business to hire people and bring them in, expecting that they were going to do a job with a process, with a system, with a vision, with all those things, and they still didn't do what I expected, right? And so some of it was my leadership. I didn't come back and lead them into doing it. I didn't follow up. I didn't hold them accountable. You know, I failed at a lot of those different things, but all of that implodes on you if you don't have the money set aside. Now everything I'm saying is going to register in certain people's minds like different red flags, like, yeah, I don't have the right process and I don't have the right system and stuff in place, so it's not time for me to hire. And I say, yeah, maybe. The other part of it is, are you just going to bed at night at 8 o'clock instead of staying up till 1 in the morning to get that process in place? So maybe you could do something about that to get that process in place that you're not, that you think is going to be next week, next year, and that's hindering your growth or your ability to grow. Sorry, I lost my train of thought on something. I was going to say something else. The finances, I don't have enough money. You know, well, once I have 3 to 6 months of my own money set aside, then I'll be able to, yeah, you can, but how long do you have to work and grind to get there? And the concept works something like this. If I can borrow money at 2% and get an interest rate of 12%, would you do that?
Yes.
And you'd say, yeah, that makes perfect sense, right? That's a good leveraging tool. So, but if I'm going to borrow it at 2% and pay it out at 2%, well, that probably doesn't really make much sense. And especially if I'm going to borrow at 2% and not make a return at all, now I'm losing money, right? And so it's trying to figure those kind of economics out on this, meaning when you hire the person, if you hire them and they don't move the needle and bring anybody in any new business, they're costing you against your amount of money. Now, if you were working it in a way that you said, I've got $1,000 in savings and I want to go hire this other person, that's probably a little too risky, right? But if you wait till you get to 3 months, how much opportunity did you lose? So the person could have worked for 2 months and helped you get a return on your business, but instead you worked for 2 months and now didn't get that return for 2 months so you could get the savings, right? So there's all different ways to really design and do this, and everyone's going to do it to their comfort level. And some of them are going to be uncomfortable all the way across. They never feel organized enough, never feel the process, never feel they're the right leader, never feel they're going to have enough time in the day, and never feel that they're going to have enough money, right? So all of those things are going to go on all the time. And sometimes you almost just got to push the boat off the shore, get the ball rolling, and then figure it out as you go and take a chance. And you're going to take a loss. There's going to be a percentage of loss. And maybe it works. Maybe it works out well. Maybe you have a skill set you didn't know you had, and you end up hiring people and training them. So I was fortunate. I have Rendy, my sister, who really runs all of the organizational stuff of the company, because I can't sit down and do that. I'm like the sales guy, the driving the business, the vision of where we're going and what we're doing. And in most cases, people look at it and go, I can't figure out how he even came up with that idea. Where did that, is he just sitting around, thinking up ideas of different things or how it's supposed to work or playing that out? I said, yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. I can't figure out how they can sit down, make a manual with a job description or a report card of what that person should do, the performance, the goals, the tasks, and do all of those things. So they're different skill sets, and sometimes it takes bringing in that personality type to do it. Sorry, I know that was a long answer, but
oh man, that was good. I want to touch on one of the things that kind of illustrated for everybody and tie it to what the business leaders, the business thought leaders of today, the Gary Vaynerchuk's, the Simon Sinek's, you even said it yourself, right? It's when you hire somebody, if you don't have a process in place, you're not gonna put somebody in a position and then walk away and think that, every 365 days of the year, you're gonna go out there golfing. In reality, and even you do this, me being part of the brokerage, I have an inside view into it, right? Nowadays, when you're hiring somebody, it's not you're hiring them so that they can do all the business and you're moved out of the equation. It's hiring them, and now you're responsible to that individual. You're responsible to feed that individual and grow that individual. And that's what everybody's talking about, right? Like you're a servant to those individuals that you're bringing onto your team. So I want to illustrate that to the people that are watching. I want to talk about you talked about having the process in place prior to bringing the person on board, because you owe that as a responsibility to them, not to just bring them on and say, well, figure it out, put it together yourself. It's not their baby. It's not their business. But you have to start somewhere. As an individual, I'm not a creative cat myself. How do you start with that process? Where do you begin? What the individuals that are watching right now that are thinking, hey, I don't have a process in place, I'm just doing what I do on a regular basis. Where do they start that process before they bring on that first hire?
Yeah, it's a good question. Before you do it, because I don't want to lose this train of thought, it's something you said, it made me think of this, but well, based on what you said prior to that question, it's servant leadership. So you have to look at this as you're going in to serve the people that you're employing. So you owe it to them to work for them. Now, the funny thing is everybody hires and leverages people to bring them in to make themselves money, right? Like that's the concept of why you're doing it. Remember, that's what I said all the way from the beginning. But I'm going to tell you, that is not the viewpoint that the person coming in is looking at. That's not the lens. I'm not coming here to make you money. That's not what they're thinking. You'd think that they would, right? Like, I get it. You're paying me money to do a job to make money for the company, right? Like that seems like a great business concept every employee should have. They don't carry that mindset, and I didn't have it even when it was mine. It was their job to go get the work for me to have work to do, right? So that was kind of the cycle of what it was. So what it is a paradigm shift of, when you're hiring them, your job is to feed them. And we're seeing that so much right now. And that's why people are getting SBA loans and doing the other stuff that they're doing to make it so that they can employ those people. And employing those people allows the leverage to building a business, and it grows. It's a momentum or a scalable growth. So anyway, it's just that mindset. It needs to be going in that you're working for them. You work for them to help them make money. If you do not make them money, meaning you don't pay them on Friday, or if it's a contractor position or a subcontractor type position, they ain't gonna stay. I mean, so you're wasting your time hiring them, even if you have the perfect process. They have to be able to make money, and you have to be able to show them how they're gonna make money. So all of that's gonna go back to the question that you asked, which is, how do you design the process for whatever it is they're gonna do? The first thing is, you need your KPIs. What are the key performance indicators that are going to tell you what your business is doing so that you can drive it? So it could be phone calls. It could be for somebody billing, just collecting back the money from jobs done. They have so many sitting out there that it's sitting out there. Could be somebody's doing the accounting to figure out what the ROI on a spend is of a marketing budget or something like that. It could be knowing with the performance of the business of how much money the business is actually making, even if I'm doing all the work and I'm going to now leverage out to somebody else. So for me, the example in like the real estate industry, if I have leads and I'm doing the business and I keep all of the money myself, and then I hire an agent, I got to pay them. Remember, now I got to give them a percentage. Now remember, they're thinking of it as, hey, I'm getting my money for what I'm working. You owe me this percentage for the work that I'm doing, right? And I'm looking at it like, no, you owe me back a percentage because I gave you my work, because now I'm not getting all of it. I'm sharing it with you, right? And so it's just they're conflicting concepts that have to be understood to go into it. So, but in that case, you go, okay, fine, I know that I'm giving them that. Well, if I was bringing in $6,000 and I'm now paying them half of it, I now know I only brought in $3,000. Now, again, this is the point. You can't be out playing golf. You've got to now go do your own deals. So now all those items that you're tracking should run down to a product that leaves a net profit. And so leads with profit, going back to that concept, the profit will run backwards into who you should be hiring, how you should be hiring, and what they should be doing, right? And now this is the best part. You're gonna love this. So everybody wants to be the boss, right? And they're like, oh, I want to be the boss. I'm gonna be on that side of the desk, and I want to do this stuff, right? And they think that, and then they've got to answer these other things. And most people that are on the other side of the desk go, here's my phone, dude. You can have it. No thanks. I don't want it, because they know all the things that come with it. But I'm gonna tell you, there is one perk. This is the best perk of the whole thing. You can change it anytime you want. You bring them in and you hire them and you're running on key indicators that aren't working, change it. Now, remember, they think you're psycho because you said you're going to do this and you had this perfect plan, and then all of a sudden it changes. You go, yeah, but I know something now I didn't know then. And you change it. Now, they're going to feel uneasy. They feel unstable. Why are you changing this? Why is this moving? And you're going, because I see a better way. I see a better way to do it, and it's actually more stable for you to do it this way than it is the other way. It's more stable. I know I gave you these 5 tasks to do, but doing that, picking up my dry cleaning is just not a lead indicator to doing this. The dry cleaning can wait 3 days, right? I'm just making up some random thing, but you know, that kind of thing where we do things that don't drive or move the needle in the business. And if they don't move the needle, and you spend somebody else doing it, and it seemed like a good idea because now at least I'm not picking up my dry cleaning, so I can be doing something else. Well, later on, I realized, well, crap, it was wasting my time, and now it's wasting your time. So now the job description that went, you can come in here and you can make a cup of coffee and you can pick up dry cleaning. I'm just making these up, but turns into, I need you to call X, Y, and Z. I need you to get the account billing for A, B, and C taken care of. So now they drove revenue around and moved product around. And so now that changes. So the next person you hire, the job description changes. So that's where it runs. Run from the bottom line of the P&L, run backwards and figure out what is going to lead and drive those things, what's wasting your time. Don't hire people to do things that waste your time, because now you just paid people to waste their time. That's not good. Pay people to drive in revenue. And the more people you drive in revenue, they cover their costs. And then when they cover their costs, it's a profit, and that drives that bottom line. All of those things should be what goes on that line item of the job description. So take a whiteboard, write it all out. E-Myth, did you ever read, you read E-Myth, didn't you? E-Myth Revisited? Mm-hmm. So E-Myth tells you how to do this, design it all the way through and all the roles, and you're going to take all the things you're doing and design those things all the way through. And so, you know, it talks about even in that book. So, you know, I'm not like some genius. I read the book and I just applied it. But you read the book and he says, hey, there's 2 guys that are running this business. And on the whiteboard, they've got their 2 circles. And then what happens is down below that, they've got all the rest of the business designed of all the roles all the way through. But there's no people in those roles yet. So they are doing all of those roles. And then what they start doing is hiring backwards to those roles of those things as it pertains to growing the business.
That's good stuff, man. That is really good stuff. Who was your first hire? What was the position? You don't have to tell the person, just the position and why you chose that position first.
No, I remember. So I was doing closings and I worked with this girl that worked at this law office, and she did all of our closings at that law office. And so when I went and I left being on somebody's team to running my own business, I was doing it all. I mean, I remember there were 12,000 minutes a day. No, it was a month on my phone. I mean, and this is when you should count minutes and all that. 12,000 minutes between calling clients, setting up showings, you know, doing closings, working on deals. And so I did that. And then I hired her and brought her over, and I paid her too much money because I didn't know what I was doing. That's how much she wanted to come over, and I needed somebody. And, you know, it just seemed like, oh, well, great, I'll make a lot. And so I brought her over, paid her too much. It's funny, her husband and I are still friends to this day, but and she works at another company now. But she came over and she ended up doing all this stuff. And the funny thing is I had never in my whole career had a month where I didn't have a transaction. The first month she came over, I didn't have a transaction. So now I have an expense and no revenue, so to speak, of what was going on. Now, it wasn't her fault. I just changed directions on what it was. I went after listings. So I listed 20 homes, but I just didn't have anything closed that month. So it was just funny that I was like, oh, now it's going out. And it's one more line item on the bill. So, and I was a horrible leader. I mean, she'd probably tell you to this day that she probably still is scarred from those. But no, we have a good relationship. It's not like that. Anyway, so stole her from a title company because she knew all the back end side. I could bring her in to take all the rest of the stuff to offload that back section of the business off of me.
Was it that was the spot that you were, for the lack of a better word, inefficient in, or that was not where the money was made? Like, why did you make that hire your first hire?
Sure. Because I didn't know any better. So, I mean, I said, I need somebody. I have to hire somebody. I need somebody to answer the phone, somebody to do these things so I could breathe. Because there's a thing of like, all right, I don't have any business, you know, and this kind of goes back to the preface of the question you asked is when's the right time to hire? If I didn't have any business, and I didn't have the phone to answer or whatever, then it doesn't really matter whether I hired somebody or not. If I hired them, they're now doing work that isn't there, but I have an idea, a concept that I'm going to go out and get work once I get them, right? And so that's unsafe for them, because if I don't go get the work now, I'm not going to probably go get the work when they're there, right? But even though we really believe that that's the case, it's just, we believe it. And so then the other side of it is the leading with profit. When you get too busy, you're now bringing in all the money and doing the work. You just don't have time to go sit down and interview, because bringing on somebody takes a lot of work. You need to be able to make sure that they can do, and we haven't even touched on any of that part yet, but it's, and remember, this is just somebody I just knew because I worked with. She responded to my emails and all that. And it was kind of like, I'm dying. You're the only person I really talk to ever because I work with you every day. Can you come over here and work with me? Right. So it was kind of like one of those situations. So, whereas we don't operate that way now, but that's how we did operate. And, but it was a good thing because she knew how busy I was. So she knew it was an opportunity for her. She wanted to get out of the culture and leadership of the place she was at. And she knew that we were safe because I had all of the business I had going on, right? So that was the trade-off. Now, what she did in that was, I didn't have a job description. I didn't even know how to do a job description. What was this? This was 15 years ago. So it's like 26. I don't even know. It had to be. I had to be like 25, 26, something like that. Somewhere in there. I was young, so I didn't know anything. And so anyway, and she didn't know either because she was from the other side of the business, not our side of the business. So I had to teach her all of our side of the business as well as do the work and the other stuff. So, so that's.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Would you recommend now, like as people are looking to hire, would you recommend that people hire people that they know, or what are your thoughts on that?
It's a conflict to answer this question in that I think there's challenges both ways. So if you hire someone, my sister works with me. Like I wouldn't rather have anyone other than my sister working with me because I trust her. I know my back is washed. I'm not worried about her cheating the clock or stealing from the bank account or any of that stuff, right? And you have those key metrics that are important. And it gets to be a place where the people you're working with are the people you see and talk to more regularly than probably your family, right? I mean, in most cases, because you're with them. So you'd want it to be people that you know and like. On the flip side, you know somebody how you know them in the area in which you know them. So meaning I may know somebody from hanging out with them, we've gone and done X, Y, and Z or whatever, but I don't know them in the workforce. I don't know whether they're coming in at 7 in the morning, or they're the type that comes in at 9:15 on the 9 o'clock thing, right? So I don't know that. I don't know how they handle being under pressure. I don't know how they will handle solving solutions and growing or solving problems, or whether they will wait for me to tell them to do something, or whether they'll figure it out. So those are the challenges. So my recommendation is, don't take whether you know them or not as part of the test. I would take it down, kind of do they have the competencies to do the job that you want? Do they have the hustle? If you need some hustle and grind, you want to have that. You want to be able to see that. Now, on the flip side, I can have an accounting person, which our accounting person seems to have hustle too. So it's a great factor. But in most cases, an accounting person, you want them on a DISC test. And on the DISC test, you want them to be a high C, right? So they're real detail orientated. But when you go talk to them, they're going to be like this. Yeah. So there's no energy to them, right? You salespeople, you want a high D or a high I. So they're driven to get it done, so that they're influential into the other people, And so the S's and the C's are your admin. The D and the I's are your salespeople. And then you start convoluting those. You get a DC, which seems to be what I'm becoming. I don't even know how that's possible, but I'm really into the details and numbers. Before it was just go grind it all out. Now I'm really into the numbers and the details. This is how I know all the hiring process. There didn't used to be one. Now we have a process for every process. So there's a process of how we hire them. There's a process of how we onboard them. There's a process of how we terminate them. I mean, all of those are processes and checklists and all that stuff. And then we go through them and change them up all the time. So, when we find a problem that we didn't realize we were going to have. So,
hey, For the people that don't know what a DISC test is, can you kind of explain it real quick?
You tell them what a disc test is.
It's your
You're the
interview.
host. You're the host. Go for it.
So for the individuals that are watching this for the first time, just hearing DISC test, the DISC test is a personality test, and it basically breaks individuals down into 4 different categories. It's called the DISC test because each of the letters fall into a specific acronym. I don't remember them off the top of my head right now, but it illustrates, based off of the questions that are answered on this test, it illustrates what kind of individual you're going to be hiring and where they would be best suited in the organization. So Ryan's a big fan.
And that's their personality. So, you know, a D is a dominant, like a sales get it done. But if you're a high D and they're a high D, they're going to want to take your job. That's just the way that it is. They're just kind of set up that way that they want to be the lead dog. So you need to have a role where they can kind of run their own project. You can kind of picture like a Steve Jobs. You know, as he came through, he kind of butted heads with management and leadership until they get, hey, take your own project and go do your own thing with it. And that's what those high Ds have to be given, the freedom to kind of go make or break, because they don't want these rules and restrictions. The high Is, you get an admin with a high I, it's good if they're like a salesperson on the phone, but they start becoming just a data entry or some kind of task orientated. They're going to go bzzz all the way around, talk to everybody in the office for 30 minutes at a time because they just like to interact. So the one that is almost impossible is the ICs. And I know there's probably some people that are going to be like, I know I'm an IC, or, you know, whatever, somebody that may see this, but they are the best people. You're going to love them. They're going to talk you to death. And, you know, and you think, well, now they're detail oriented, but they normally have a very low D. So remember, that means their I and C are the highest of the 2 of the 4. So they have the highest. That means their D, it was traded off for some I or C, right? So something is higher. And the higher the I and the C, the less they get done. They will drill down and go through every little bit of everything and then want to talk all about every detail that they found and not complete anything. And so it is the worst possible one. And something there probably is a job description where that's really, really important, maybe an analyst or something. I don't know, but just not in my industry. So they don't end up getting anything done. Sometimes they can be salespeople that'll get all their data stuff done, but normally the deal doesn't get done. It doesn't get closed in the end. They've talked to everybody and they've updated their system, but there's nothing. So it's just what I've seen. And don't hate me if you're an IC. Like I'm just telling you that's what I've seen. And there's no rhyme or reason. I've seen people with high S's be really good salespeople, and that's not normal. So, you know, I've seen it, but they're serving everybody. They're wanting to help everybody, and they do it, and their personality and their heart brings that out in them, and people trust them. And so that's really what it comes out to, and they don't have a problem talking to people. So, you know, everybody's different. The test isn't 100% either, so it just gives you one more thing. So now you've got a job description, you've got a personality style, and then you go through kind of a test of interview questions now that are based on those 2 things, right? So I noticed you're a high D. Where do you see yourself going, you know, in the next 5 years? Yeah, I want to be you, you know, well, so that's going to be a telling answer, right? For you to know what you're up against. So you're going to be able to decide that. You go, well, I appreciate that, but I need you for a closing coordinator. so now you're like, man, that's probably not the one that you want. So you can start moving through. We normally do a resume to see that they have the experience in a level. So now you got a resume matched up to the job description with an overlay of the DISC test. And that's before we've even set up an interview, right? So then you'll set up the interview to find out if they're the right person to be able to do the job and whatever. Now, remember, everybody in the interview, if they're any kind of salesperson, is going to go in and say, hey, I'm the man. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to do whatever. Hopefully they don't say I'm the man because they're a woman, but they're, you get what I mean? So anyway, they're going to push the sale. What you got to do is rightly divide the truth between what's true and what's not. And as you do it through experience, you start catching them and stuff. Now, you don't ever call them out. You catch them in the things that are going, all right, so why did you leave your last job? Oh my God, the boss was such a jerk. I mean, they were so unorganized. You know, they just they always wanted me to do something new. They came up with, and so they'll start going through all these lines of this stuff with the other and go, guess what that means? They're going to say the same thing about you when you go. That they looked at it as an employee, and when they looked at it, they didn't look at it as supporting the company. They looked at it as how it pertained to them. They never had a perspective that was external. It was always internal, right? So that's the telling part of the other thing. They leave there and go, you know, that company, I just relocated. I would have stayed with that company forever, you know, but I relocated. My husband was military and we came here, you know, so that's a great answer, right? And so these are the kinds of things you're looking for when you're doing it to figure out. They have jobs and they've been there 3 months. And then they interview, they go, yeah, I just haven't found the right fit yet, but I bet this is it. You know, I think it's going to be it. And you want to think your company is the best. Yeah, great. Yeah, we are. We're the best. You're going to have so much fun, blah, blah, blah. 3 months later, you're doing the exact same thing of hiring again. And now your job has become hiring and that rotating thing. So,
hey, Ryan, you, so obviously you said when you're hiring somebody, you're looking at the resume, you're throwing out the DISC profile to kind of get an understanding of their personality. What are some of the other things that you're looking for when you're hiring individuals?
Well, it's going to depend on it depends on the role in this. And so, you know, as we do this, we have an HR now, and the HR hires the employees, right? So now they have that rigmarole of things they have to run everybody through to figure out if they're going to do it. And here's the funny thing, at the end of the day, you can do all the overlays and have all the criteria and all the things, and you still are going to have people that you think are going to do well, do poorly, and people that you think are going to do poorly, do well. And so there isn't any crystal ball to any of it. And ultimately, the best place to be is to have a system that tells you whether they're doing the job or not right away. Meaning, how quickly can you get them in and up and running and performing on a level? So which means if you tell me all these great things and everything looks good on paper, I want to know quickly whether you did the job or not. So if they came in and did the job, then all of that was really irrelevant. So you can try somebody out and then they can come in, and if they do it, then you're in a good spot. But the system of knowing that they did the job and moved the needle, that will be the key. And then there's going to be ups and downs, right? So next thing you know, their aunt gets sick, and so they've got to go, you know, to Taiwan to go meet with their aunt. Well, now you've lost out on that, or they, you know, their dog gets sick. So now they're distracted mentally somewhere else. So the leadership side of getting everybody back engaged. And that's really what we see today is leaders that can get everybody going back into driving and growing and building a business. And so that leads me to this other point, which is right now, it's like the stock market. If you were going to buy stock, would you buy stock now or would you wait till later?
Probably buy it now. It's on discount.
It's on a discount, right? So that works the same way in the workforce. Before this stuff went on, the workforce was at the highest point, meaning the best people for hiring were not available. They were at another job. And so if you wanted to get one of the best people, you had to pay them more money to get them over. Well, now all this disruption is taking place. There are some A players out there that are ready to work and will hustle and grind. So that's a disruption and a shift of bringing people around. And you may be in the same industry. Other companies are laying off high dollar, high valued people to save money. And that's their best employee that they paid the most amount of money to get that person over, right? Can you see that? Can you picture how that takes place? And so you go, it's a time to hire. It's the time to buy stock. It's the time to hire people. And you go, right, we can't hire. The economy's shut down. You can't do it. And I go, you can find a way to hire the best people if you can figure out a way to drive production on that P&L. So you just start looking at it, and you're going to get them at a discount. And you can do it at a discount and then give the value back over a period of time as it comes out. But you got the A player, which is going to hugely impact your business growth.
Very cool. Hey man, you said something that I picked it up, and I want to make sure that the people that are watching didn't miss it. So when it comes to hiring, people that are hiring for the very first time, you know, it's a nerve-wracking thing. You're basically you're taking on the responsibility of another life. This person's finances are in your hands. The finances of the family are in the hands, right? Like it's nerve-wracking for a lot of people. And sometimes based off of that fear, the person that needs to hire somebody takes no action. What you said was, go ahead and hire that person as long as your process is in place, because you're going to be able to quickly identify, everybody's putting their best foot forward when you're in an interview environment. But once they get into the role, as long as your process is airtight, you can identify if this person is going to be a good fit for that position. And if they're not, then you, as the person that's driving the bus, you need to be able to identify very quickly, hey, this is not going to be a good fit, and part ways with that person. But it goes back to what you said earlier. The process has to be airtight. Go make the mistake. If it's not the right fit, address it quickly. Take action is basically what was in that snippet, right?
Yeah. Well, once you bring them on, you want to coach them up and continue to coach them up until you have to coach them out, right? And so, so ideally, if they don't do it right, everybody's not going to do it right off the bat, right? So that's what I mean by you can't get too busy to the point where you can't maintain them. That's not good for them either, right? So they need somebody to be there, even though somebody wants somebody. Oh, I'm a self-starter. I don't care if you're a self-starter or not. If you don't have a clear picture of what your job is and what winning looks like, you're gonna flail because you're gonna get pulled in 100 different directions. Now, there are other people that are just more distractible. There's another thing I was gonna say. Sorry, I forgot. Never mind. It was something you said. I should have written it down.
It's all good. Going back to an earlier statement that you made about the girl that you hired, the first hire that you made, that you overpaid. How do you know how much a position's worth? Because that's going to be another
You
thing.
Just reminded me by saying that of what I was going to say earlier. So in E-Myth, he talks about you want to go hire this person. So let's just say you're the CEO of a company and you want to go hire somebody to become the CEO of the company, right? And so somebody will say, well, maybe you should hire from within, maybe you should hire from without. So different things like that go on. And so what happens is you want to hire the CEO, depending on the side of this company, you want to go hire this person and you want to hire from the outside. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to go pick the CEOs from every other company to go hire them and say, well, and I think it was like Apple stole the CEO of Pepsi, right? Or, whatever it is. And so they steal this guy and bring him in. Well, you got to pay him a good amount of money. And as long as your stock of your business is going up, it's no big deal. But when in E-Myth, he basically says, if you get the process and the system of what winning looks like to grow that business, you don't have to go hire the best person out there. You need a person that's going to do the job. So in answering the question of paying her or figuring out what it is, if my system will allow me and the workforce allows me to say, if I can pay $10 an hour, if the workforce says that I can go run an ad and get 20 people online for $10 an hour to do this job, and my system says I can be able to do it, then I drive the profitability of the company. And someone may say, gosh, you're only paying the person $10 an hour, that's just being cheap, right? And so they're looking at it on the outside of a business, not understanding that every dollar spent in payroll is normally the heaviest that there is, plus you have payroll taxes. Then they got a desk that they're sitting at. Then you got the power, the paper, the printing, all of those things that go on top of those things. So it's not 10, it's much more. And when it's even higher, you're going to get a quality person. But the system, and again, it just depends on what it is, right? I mean, because you're not hiring 10 CEOs, but you could be hiring 10 people that are doing a certain task that's scalable, and you could be hiring 10 different people that have 10 different roles, and all of those would pay differently based on skill sets and values. So, but the main point of it is you're going to overpay for a quality person the less your system is in place, because you're going to think, I need this person who's done this somewhere else at a high level to come in and do it and set up all of my systems, right? So, but the more your system and your checklist of stuff is in place, the more that you can roll out and go, here's the deal, Claudio. I can hire John off the street, tell him exactly what he's got to do, exactly how many hours it should take to do it, and he's going to come in and he's going to do it or not. And so if he wants a job, he's going to come in and he's going to do it. If he doesn't want a job, then that's okay. We're not going to do it. We'll move on to the other. Now, if you run an ad at a pay rate for a certain thing, meaning they're not paying $200,000 for front desk receptionists right now. You're not getting $200,000 a year for some front desk receptionist. So even if someone's like, well, gosh, you're only paying $10 an hour. I go, well, you figure out where the metric is, but essentially it comes down to the skill set and the job as much as it moves the needle, right? And they say, well, that doesn't move the needle. That just kind of keeps everything going. You're right. So that's why we don't pay $200,000 for that position. But to give them a checklist of everything that's going to go and how they're going to say it on the phone and what they're going to do and how it's going to look for your business determines how much you're willing to pay that person for that skill set, right? So, and then they can grow with the position based on moving the needle. So
if you have a rock solid process for said job, you look at what the market allows for that individual and you pay them market value. If you don't have a process in place and you need somebody to build out that process, you look at what the market value is for that position and you pay them above that, because it's going to require it. You're by definition, you're going to ask them to do more than what the position is.
Well, here's what ends up happening. It's unsafe for them. So if you wanted to go today and pay $3,000 a share for Amazon, could you do that?
Personally, no.
Yeah, no. I mean, could a person go buy a shares of Amazon? It's at $2,000 or something, whatever it is. But could they go overpay by $700? Huh?
You're not gonna. Why would you do that?
They could. Why would you do that? Right? You know, that's a great question. Why would you do that? But could they? Could they? They think that this company is so valuable that it's eventually going to get to a place where it's worth $3,000. But today, they just want to make sure that they get it, and they're going to pay that because they don't have any other stocks, and that's the one that they trust.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is what we do with employees all the time. So we go in and overpay them. So then what happens is, you know what? Calamity comes on as now I need to pay my power bill. And that stock's still trading at $2,000. You know what you're going to do now? You're going to sell your $3,000 stock to get your $2,000 back. So your investment just came back at a loss so you could pay for something else. Well, that's exactly what happens with employees. So if I take a $10 position and pay them $15, it may be fine today, but later on when the things get tighter, I'm going to realize I overpaid for it and now I have to tighten up. And they are at the highest risk of losing their job. That's unsafe for them. This is where people run into that position. On the flip side, qualified applicant, where you'll hear that they're overqualified. It's crazy. I've never even really talked about this, so I don't even know how I know what I'm talking about. So it's weird. So an overqualified applicant would mean that what they're doing is you bought the stock too low. So they're looking to sell. They're looking to go and sell their services somewhere else for a higher value. So they're saying, we're not going to hire you, you're overqualified. No, but I just need a job. Yeah, you need a job today, but next month you're going to be looking at somewhere else and they're going to offer you $2, $3, $4 more to come over. And now I'm going to lose you and have to retrain and bring somebody else in. And I'm right back where I started. That's why they don't hire overqualified, right? So someone will happily take more money, not realizing that they're putting themselves in a vulnerable position. Well, it's fine if that's where the market's going. Or what happens is they get overpaid at another job for a certain skill set. So then they walk into somewhere else and they say, hey, I want a job here and this is my expected income. And they're going, are you crazy? We don't do that. Well, just because they didn't have a process and system in place to know the value of this position doesn't mean we're going to go overpay. So we wish you all the best, but this isn't the place for you. So
I've seen that a ton in corporate America. And with that, like there's also, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but there's also cost of living. So somebody paid the position
for their house.
In California doesn't make sense over here in Virginia. Somebody that's in New York moving to, Florida, they don't translate. And that has been, it's a difficult conversation to have for the cost of living perspective, but also from the qualification perspective that you were saying, it's detrimental for somebody to go out there and hire somebody above the market because it sets that expectation in their heads, right? This is what I'm worth now. Yes. I'm worth, $50,000 a year, $60,000, $70,000 a year, when in reality, the position is supposed to be 30, 40, or less than what they're currently making. But now they're going out there and you've set that person up for failure because their expectations are off, right? Like disappointment is the definition of disappointment is an unmet expectation, right? So that's good stuff, man. We've been bouncing around, and I think the questions that I had outlined for this interview have been answered in one shape, way, or form. Speak to the audience that's getting ready to make their first hire. What words of wisdom do you have that you haven't already touched on?
There's no more words of wisdom other than what we've somewhat talked about. And to tell you this, it doesn't matter what I said. You can follow it one way or the other. And I only say that because what we just went through and what we're currently going through right now disrupted everything I would have told you 3 months ago. So meaning I don't even believe some of this stuff, meaning I would tell you to go hire as many 1099 employees as you could that you could follow the rules on, right? But now when you need to go make employee money back and get the SBA loan, you don't qualify because they're 1099 instead of W-2 employee, right? And vice versa, you would have never told someone to go get a bunch of W-2 employees versus 1099s because then their payroll is top heavy and it's not based on production or results, and it follows a whole bunch of other rigmarole, payroll taxes and insurances and all that other stuff, right? So all of that stuff that goes on, that's how we would have looked at it before. That pay people, if the job description means they got to be at the office doing X, Y, and Z, they need to do that. If they can do it transient or, for work from home, we had kind of a view of that. Now it's everybody is going to be working from home. I mean, like, we're going to get to a place where every job is figuring out how they would survive working from home. And this may never happen again. You see what I mean? So what you would have thought isn't. We say, oh yeah, well, so I'm going to, build this way. And then this thing kind of takes off. And so it's all changing and going on. So, the best thing to do is to look at it one way and say, whatever you're going to hire based on the current economy of things that's going on right now. So meaning if this is the way SBA loans are going on, then hire that way. If people are working remotely, then plan a job description and a model and how you're going to track it. Remember, if you can't track how they're doing it, they're not working from home, you got a problem, right? So if it was, hey, I check your paper every day when you come in, you've got this transition. So set it up so that they can work from home. And if it goes back to a work environment of a location in an office at a high scale at some point, no problem. You can always still do the same thing from an office. You just can't do the same thing inversely, not from an office. So, if you can take that for what it's worth, and if it goes back to what it is, great. If it doesn't, and this thing carries on for another 18 months, you don't want to hire thinking this thing's going to be over in a week, in a month, and everything's going to go back to normal. You need to hire on the current economy and then base everything from there.
That's good stuff, man. So I am done with my interview questions for today. You've provided a tremendous amount of value in the questions that you've answered. Why don't you go ahead and plug your real estate business and your real estate franchise for the individuals that are watching that are in that role to get some more information.
Sure. So we run First Class Real Estate. You can find that online, firstclassrealestate.com. On there, it also has franchise opportunities. You can go on any of those, plugs you in, gives you the information. If you put in your information, it'll put you to the right person, whether it's in a location that we have to be an agent, or it's an employee in one of our locations, or if you're looking for a franchise opportunity or business. And what we've done is we've designed this franchise business virtually now. So we can run any of it. It's funny, I have it sitting right here, but because I'm continually always tweaking the different things. But so anyway, it's set up. You can run a real estate business for next to nothing and hire agents that are 1099 and go on and run a business. And we know that business is not going to stop because we see that it's growing right now. We have a bigger month last month than we've ever had. We have a bigger month this month than last month, and that's with a little bit of, pressure down, so people are doing it. They're doing it safely. All of our business allows for remote closings, remote this, all of that stuff has now been figured out. It's that necessity was the creator of these things. So anyway, it's a good business to be in. It's a good time. I think a lot of people that are not working right now are going to be able to go, great, now's a great time to spend 30 days, get my license, and now boom, I can go on and do this. Now, again, those words of wisdom, 6 months from now, something takes place and you can't do real estate anymore. Remember, what seems like the great thing at this time may change later, but that's all you can do is base it on now. Don't base it on where it's going to be. And that's kind of what we've done, is said we can do both ways. And this is what we do. So
awesome. Well, man, I appreciate you dropping by to feed into the Think 30 series. Ton of information provided. I appreciate everybody that's watching. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, man. Thanks for what you're doing.
All right, brother. Talk to you later.
Mm-hmm.